Because you see there is some oil leaking out from the torque tube here. Not right. Why is that water? Another disaster waiting to happen if Ed had continued to drive this car. This is about $30,000 in Lamborghini parts. Hey everyone, and welcome back to DC Motorwerks. My name is Cameron, and today is what we're calling a Lambo Lunacy Week, as I finally convinced Mr. Ed Bolian from VinWiki after a couple years that it is time to put down all three of his V12 Lamborghinis for some major servicing. You can see work is already underway behind me, and let's see if Ed Bolian's cars are actually as bad as he says they are. So, believe it or not, Mr. Bolian, out of his 9 Murcielagos and his 1 or 2, I forget how many Diablos at this point, he has never done a major service on one of these cars. And the only way I could convince him to do this was to take the blow all at once and do them all at the same time. So that's why we've assembled the dream team here. This is my business partner, the other owner of DC Motorwerks, Andy Sumner, and I've been working on him the past couple years to try and expand our Lamborghini portfolio. And what do you think about it?
So far, I've enjoyed it. My heritage is from Mercedes. That's all I've ever done. But we've gotten into it, and it's been a lot of fun. It's not that bad.
It's something different. We look at a lot of Mercedes all day, and I'm a big enthusiast of exotic cars, and this is one of the meet your heroes kind of situations with the Murcielagos, as this was the icon Lamborghini of my youth. And probably the same with Mr. Evan Eugenio here. We are trying to get him into the Lamborghinis as well because of his Italian heritage.
So I've really appreciated Cameron's efforts into trying to bring into more Lamborghini business. And again, nothing is more thoroughbred than a gated V12 from an Italian maker such as Lamborghini.
So I'm very happy to share the efforts of the labor between these 3 cars, as I could not do them very efficiently all by myself, and that's why we have the team here at DC Motorwerks. So with that said, we're going to get right back into the action because we're just a couple hours away from pulling some motors. So part of the reason we invested in this tool, this is the factory Lamborghini scan tool behind me. It is pretty costly at about $25,000, but we had that investment for this reason, is that we can have the proprietary tool that you absolutely need for these cars, more specifically with an E-Gear car, but with the gated cars as well, because there's like 3 different interfaces to communicate with different parts of the car. But on the Verde Draco here, we are pretty much done on the top end of the motor to have it ready to pull. All of the wiring is out. You can see deck lid, hood, everything is removed from the back of the car. It is a labor of love with these, as a lot has to come apart because the engine, transmission, and the torque tube all come out as one piece. We're getting there. I'm about to move down to the bottom end, drain all the fluids, and try and make one step out of it, do all the top, all the bottom, and yank it out. And we're about on the same point here with Evan and I on the Roadster here. So you can see the Roadster is in a similar state of disarray here, as Evan and I are about at the same point in the progress of pulling these motors, and it's kind of created an unofficial race, is that can Evan beat me with my multiple distractions of being a shop owner and taking phone calls and so forth? And how do you think you're doing, Evan?
You know, I think I'm doing pretty well.
It looks like he's cheating. It looks like he's trying to get ahead of me, so I'm going to get back to work and see if who's going to win unofficially. So this is the Verde Draco table. So this is my workstation for the Verde Draco car. You can see we've already got lots of things apart, staying organized. These are our muffin trays, or official hardware storage for Lamborghinis. But have a look at all my new parts here, or kind of lack thereof, as this is about $30,000 in Lamborghini parts. And you would expect a lot more, I think, for that price, but that is the cost of Lamborghini ownership. You can see we've got a slew of gaskets, we've got a belt tensioner, some hoses, a new belt, and the all-important clutch, which is a majority of the expense. And this is also, again, back to part of the reason why Ed wanted to rip the Band-Aid off with these cars and get the big check he has to write to get all 3 of these up to service with all these parts that some are very difficult to find. That's also one of the hardest parts about working on some of these cars, is sourcing everything within a reasonable time to do something like this. But I'd say that Band-Aid is about half ripped because we are in the middle of work and we still have to get them to completion so that Ed can sign that nice fat check for us. And so I'm gonna get back to it.
Yeah.
Not right. Why is that water?
So everything up top is pretty much apart. So it's time to move to the bottom. We're draining all the fluids. We got 2 radiators to drain. You can see this one is down to a dribble. So we'll get that one plugged back up and do the other side. You can see it was not the proper coolant. It looks like it only had water in it, which is not what you want. So we'll make sure that we put the proper coolant back in this when it's all said and done. So my next steps are going to be draining the oil, like I said, draining this other radiator, and then we'll start unbolting everything from the bottom, torque tube, clutch line, and that should pretty much have us in a point that it will be ready to come out.
Down underneath here, I've got my axles out, just draining the oil, then I'll get my oil fittings undone. Go up to the front torque tube, get that undone, motor mounts, so we're on track to get this out.
So Evan grabbed me and pointed out to me that there was a bit of an air gap on the torque tube here to the front differential, and noticed that these bolts weren't exactly tight. And first one he pulled out is, yeah, it's missing some threads. So we'll be interested to see what's lying behind the threads on the actual differential. So carry on and we'll see what happens. But that also leads me to something I just found on the Verde Draco car. So I am currently in the process of removing the rear axles from the rear differential. And the first one I put my ratchet on here. Thought I might have had the wrong size or that the bolt was different than it should be, but it was because the bolt was loose. Didn't even have to break it loose, it just started spinning. So hopefully the rest of them are tight, because if your axle comes loose while driving, that can be very dangerous and nerve-wracking. So we'll see what happens there. Second one's loose also. We'll pull that one out, and it's a little more difficult to get to on the passenger side here. There's a round one. Also, what's fun on this one is the rotors should have set screws to hold them to the wheel hub, but usually with aftermarket wheels, those get removed because they no longer fit. And when you're going to pull the bolts out of the axles, unless you have the parking brake pulled, you have to keep this still, which we usually do in this fashion here. But when you're missing your set screws, that does not work. So I had to put some wheel bolts back in to take care of that. So let's see what happens with the other ones. That one's loose too. Well, that's not very encouraging. that Ed could have had a axle blowout at any point here. Threads look fine, so that's good. Yep, that one's loose too. Some more exciting things, which some keynotes were that I saw this kind of floating around in here on both sides. And look a little closer, you can see this bearing support for this drive shaft, and you can see it's missing a bunch of its ball bearings on that side. So another disaster waiting to happen if Ed had continued to drive this car. So never cease to find any more surprises. We found that the sensor here on the front differential was just kind of laying there. That's because the terminal is not exactly crimping like it's supposed to, and it looks like we might have to do a radial seal on the front differential here, because you see there is some oil leaking out from the torque tube here. Rack's dry though, which is a normal problem on these things. All right, now I just need to do my fat boy back here. So by the magic of editing, we are here with the Verde Draco car and ready to pull the motor. See, we got the gantry crane set up, and the Narrow Nemesis car is right behind it and has been right in front of me or behind with our friendly banter back and forth of who was gonna win on getting the engine out. But it looks like I won because I grabbed the gantry crane before him. So let's go ahead and pull this motor. That should be enough for me to roll under. I like to roll under it and just check everything. Yeah, it's, as usual, it's stuck on the torque tube. Hold the handle down. See if you can pump it. All right. It's getting it off of the it's tight. There she goes. Okay, now pop a door so we can watch the shifter.
Not ready to budge.
Do I need to go up, or what do you want me to do?
It doesn't need to go up. You have to go up before we can go backwards. There you go.
All right. Tug back on that arm a little. Just pull the whole thing towards you. Just a smidge. Yep. A little more. There you go. Do the same on that side. On the foot, the wheel. All right, how's that? Can I come back? All right, let me. That's fine. Okay, watch everything. Andy, I'm gonna go down. We're free.
With the worst bedside manner ever, he said he found some scary surprises.
I think they won over $3 grand for it.
$3,000.
Hello, Cameron. Make it cheaper.
30, 40, 50% discount feels where we're headed.
I'll send you the updated bill.
Don't worry about that. It's all gonna come together.